Hi, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to the very first episode of Sunrise&Grind, a webcast where we deep dive into founders' stories and talk about all things entrepreneurship. Today, I'm joined by Dee. Dee is the founder and CEO of Remmi. Remmi is a medical scrubs business that is disrupting the market by offering high-end, tailored uniforms for UK healthcare professionals. Dee, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Dee, you've had a really interesting journey getting into entrepreneurship, being a graduate nurse in Canada and then now to running your own business here in the UK. Tell us a bit more about kind of what that journey was like and how you went from there to here.
That's a very interesting one. So if I go back, just to kind of explain my background and where I'm from, my parents are from Vietnam, but I was raised and born in Montreal, Canada. And so in my family, it's not a business background at all, right? They focus and have always focused on building stability because it's something that they didn't have. So growing up, it was, the focus was on getting a good education, a stable job, everything stable.
Yeah.
So entrepreneurship was never really running in the family, And so I went into nursing because I liked it as well, right? So I chose nursing on my own. And then I graduated from university. I started working pretty young. As a nurse, you finish school in Quebec, at least. I think I was like 20 when I started working in a hospital, which is quite insane to, you learn to grow up really quickly.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It's a tough environment to be in.
Yeah, definitely. I started in the ICU as well. So I learned a lot from there. And then I moved to the private sector after, I'd say maybe 4 years working in the public system. And so then I went into management. So I got a really good opportunity in a private hospital, still in Montreal, to do management. And I did a couple years in management. And my last year in Montreal, I had this really cool job, which was, the title was Continuous Improvement Consultant, whatever that means. But it was, I learned a lot about the business side of things. And I really had the opportunity to think outside the box for the business. And then I think that's when I knew, I always told myself, this job is so cool, right? And the team was so nice that if ever I feel like I'm not happy anymore, it's because like I need to start something on my own. Because I always had this idea in my head, but it wasn't strong enough at that time to take the leap.
Absolutely. I think sometimes you need to build up that kind of idea in your head more, think it through, and then have the right push almost to really take it to the next step, right? It's taking a leap of faith. I think we shared similar stories in terms of working in corporate environments, and we talked with a lot of our friends and families about setting up our own businesses. But I think you get to one point where you know I have to do it now, otherwise I feel like I'll never do it.
Yeah, it's too strong. I think for me it was, even if I tried to ignore it, you come to a point where it's just too loud.
Absolutely.
Right? So at that point, I started thinking a bit, going freelance as a nurse, doing all these kinds of things. And then I had this moment where I kind of rethought everything. At that time in Montreal, I had bought a property, everything on paper that you just looks good on paper. And then I said, wait, I don't have kids. I don't have, big responsibility. Yeah. And so it's the time to just take risk, take a risk. So that's when I decided to quit my job and to move to London.
Amazing.
Yeah, that was a year ago. Yeah.
Wow. And in that year, you've created your own company and you're going from success to success. So why don't you tell me a bit more about Remmi and where's the origin story of Remmi and how things are going?
Mm-hmm. So when I moved to London, I did not have the idea for Remmi yet. I knew I wanted to start something, but I mean, building a medical uniform business was always in the back of my mind, right? So If you ask one of my really good friend, Kat, that I used to live with, I did mention this idea a while ago. But then at the time, I was like, there's other brands of scrubs, and I just shut that idea down. And then coming to London, the first couple months, I had a goal, right? And then that's going to lead us to talking about how we met. But my goal was to surround myself with entrepreneurs because up until then, my environment was like more corporate.
Yeah.
And I think your environment, affects you a lot.
Absolutely.
Right? And so I went to London with the idea of not jumping into a job right away. I had savings, thankfully. So I gave myself like a little bit of time to just really focus on building a network. So I would go to a lot of networking events. And then during the day, oh my God, I would just take my laptop, go to a coffee shop, and like, who knows what I was doing? But I was searching, I was just like, I can't even remember what I was doing, to be honest. But I would stay all day in coffee shops. And then at some point, I got inspired by London itself. Fashion in London is quite, London's known for its fashion scene. And walking in the streets, central London, everything was so nice. And and then coming from a nursing background, I kind of wanted to mix all of these things that I knew, right? So medical scrubs, the being inspired by London and the fashion scene. I would also see all these clinics on Harley Street that are, prestigious clinics.
Yeah.
And then I would see the scrubs that they would be wearing, and it just didn't match.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's amazing. You found a niche in the market where you brought all the skills that you've kind of collectively learned over the years, and you saw a problem, in that space. And you're right, absolutely. Like some of these most high-end clinics in London, the scrubs have been almost overlooked for a long time. It was just part of a uniform, or they bought it wholesale from a certain supplier, and they never really thought about actually how does the image of our staff portray our brand. And I think that's really important, and that's what you're solving for a lot of these businesses with Remmi.
Yeah, exactly. And for the healthcare professional as well, it really matters what you wear, what you decide to wear in the morning. And these people are so, so smart, full of knowledge, full of experience, and they deserve to look good.
Yeah.
But remain comfortable because
Absolutely.
the nature of their work, you need to be super comfortable.
I agree.
So,
Yeah, definitely. So what makes Remmi unique in this market? There are a lot of suppliers, wholesale suppliers in the medical scrub space, but you're seeing great traction with your own scrubs with the Remmi brand. So what is it about the Remmi scrubs that makes it unique?
You do have those scrubs that are boxy and, it looks like you're wearing like pajamas, right? So Remmi is very different from that kind of scrub. We like to be very intentional in the designs and every single detail, right? So for example, I always like to give the example of a white t-shirt. You can have 2 different white t-shirts, but one looks nicer for some reason. And when you take a closer look, it's because, the color is like different. It's well designed. The fit is different. That's kind of the idea with Remmi, is we're being very intentional with every detail. So overall, we focus on tailored fit, sophistication, elegance as well. And it's still modern, but professional.
Yeah.
And of course, comfort is
Absolutely.
Non-negotiable.
Yeah. I mean, when you're on your feet 12 hours a day doing long shifts, you got to be wearing something comfortable. So.
Yeah.
And I've seen the scrubs as well. They look amazing. It's like night and day
thank
when
you.
you see the Remmi scrubs and other scrubs in the market.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also something that kind of came natural is because we have a website, right? So one individual nurse or doctor could go on the website and buy their own set of scrubs. But we also have been providing scrubs to clinics.
Yeah.
And what I really like, this is like one of my favorite part of the business, is kind of like our white glove service. So I'll go over there, show people the samples, and get their team fitted, right? So to make sure that everything fits perfectly and kind of guide them through the order as well. Because what I've realized is a lot of, the people that own the clinics, they need guidance a bit in some of the decisions, like regarding scrubs, how many to order, all these things. So yeah, I provide that like personalized
That's great.
service.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it's very important in the B2B space, and especially with some of the clinics that you're working with right now. They are some of the best clinics in London.
Yeah.
So it's that white glove service is what really makes the difference, and what makes you stand out as a founder of your own business and as a brand.
Yeah.
Not many other businesses are doing that.
Yeah.
So you're finding what makes you unique, what makes your business unique as well, and it's obvious that it's yourself that really, really kind of shines through.
I think it's like, as the owner, it helps to be at the forefront of
Absolutely.
things, and go and meet people and build these relationships, which to me I love. I love meeting people and talking about their business as well, right?
Yeah.
So you kind of like build this relationship and this partnership at the end of the day.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And on the topic of building relationships and partnerships, I think we touched on it, but starting a business and going on that journey, it can sometimes feel very lonely, and everyone knows the challenges that come with it. We met through networking events, and I guess just want to touch on, what your thoughts are on the importance of having a really good network around you and the right people around you when launching a business.
It's so important, especially for me. I came here, my friends and family, they're in Montreal. So I had to connect with people from here very quickly, kind of to get the sense of like how everything works as well. So like I said earlier, networking events here in London really help with that. And that's where I met you.
Yep.
Right? So it was, I think, maybe a month after I was in London.
Yeah.
Yeah. So early.
Yeah.
Early enough that, you even before I said anything, you knew I wasn't from London.
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's where I met you, and you've been like a very important part of the journey as well. Because when I met you, I don't even think I had a name for the business. It was like the beginning of the idea.
Yeah.
And you were really like, I just remember you believed so much in whatever was going to come. I remember that so clearly. And having someone like you, you're an entrepreneur yourself, believe in that way, it really makes a difference.
Yeah.
So to be surrounded by people that believe in your vision and in you as a founder is so important. Absolutely. I don't know how, I don't know how you could not have that around you.
Yeah, I agree.
And
I think when we first met, it was like you said, I could tell you straight away you weren't from London because it was the middle of winter and you were smiling at everyone in the room and everyone else looked really, really upset, even though it was a network event, because it was bloody freezing. It was cold. It was late night. I think in the city. I think we met in Canary Wharf, I believe.
Yeah.
And you were just there, like beaming with energy, and you were trying to talk to everyone in the networking event. And I could just tell. I was like, yeah, she hasn't been in London for a while. Yeah.
So funny.
But you know what I love? I mean, you've been here a year now, and you haven't lost that energy. And I think having that positive mindset and that energy when starting a business is so important, because nowadays it's very easy to see on social media and other platforms people glamorizing entrepreneurship, saying, "Oh yeah, 20 million ARR in 3 years." And look, we need to celebrate the successes as well. But I think it's also important for people to understand that there are a lot of downs and ups in building a company, and you're gonna go through really difficult days, and you just got to have that mindset to be able to pick yourself up. You know, take it on the chin. Today wasn't a good day. Maybe you lost a deal, or we didn't hit a certain target, but having that mindset and the grit to keep going is so important, and you still have that to this day, and you're still beaming every day. Every time you meet someone, you're smiling, so it's great.
Yeah, well, to me it's so funny that you say it was cold, because I'm from Canada.
Yeah,
to me,
true.
I was in sneakers. I was living the life,
Oh yeah.
You can't be in sneakers in February in Canada.
That's true.
But it does help also to have people that understand. So for you, every time I talk to you, I know you understand it to like a different level,
Definitely.
And it's nothing against like my corporate friends, but it's just a different reality.
Yeah, definitely.
And have someone also to like ask some advice, and it's really, really great. Yeah.
So Dee, we've collaborated on a number of projects together between Remmi and Sunrise Technology. Why don't you shed some light on what that was like working with my team, and what made it feel like you found the right partner to do the work?
Yeah. So when I worked with your team, I was building Remmi's website, right? And I don't come from a tech background at all. So I really liked that. I just felt like they were part of Remmi's team. That's really how I felt, So I remember working with Liam, which is your main...
technical consultant.
Yeah. And he was I really like when people are not just like yes mans. And Liam was challenging me on, some of the things some of the decisions that I was going to make. And instead of just saying, yes, totally, we can do that, he brought his expertise in, and he explained why he would do some of the bits differently. And it just turned out so great. Yeah. And I felt at that moment, okay, I have someone that has my back. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
And not just someone that says yes to everything. So from that moment, I just really felt like I could trust your team, and I could trust that you guys were going to tell me if something is like a great idea or something that we need to change.
Yeah.
So that I really, really liked. And I liked that you understood, what it's like to start a business. Yeah, again, Liam's been so amazing, so I'm going to keep referring to him, but he would say things like, you're starting, so it's going to be a process, and it just really felt like someone was holding my hand.
Yeah, definitely.
Which is so amazing to have that at that stage, because you really do everything on your own. And at the beginning, your team is like small, right? Yeah. And so having that support was really, really helpful. Yeah.
I think that's it. When you're choosing partners to work with, when starting your own business, you want to have a partner who you feel is invested as well, and also who understands not just on the surface of what they're trying to achieve, but also like where you're trying to take your company, right? And
definitely.
And marrying up not just the technical aspects of things, how to build the website or anything like that.
Yeah,
but
because
also
anyone can do that.
Yeah, but align it with the business goals.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's really important. And we love the collaboration, and there's looking forward to a lot of more to do together in the future.
Yeah, and I always felt like I was like a big client.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I'm getting the VIP service here, but I guess like it's like that for every one of your clients.
I think that's really important for us. I mean, especially for myself. I mean, I spent a lot of time with you as well throughout the project, and every client we work with, we ensure that we were trying to make sure that they feel that level of service, similarly to what you're doing with Remmi, right? It doesn't matter about the size, but it's about the value that you bring to your clients.
Yeah.
And I think ultimately that's what any entrepreneur is trying to do, right? They're trying to bring value to their clients. Yes, we want to win business and do more deals, but it's also about what value do we bring?
Yeah.
And can the client see that, and can they feel that?
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
really
definitely.
important.
I could feel that. And for the long term as well, it's like such a smart strategy as well.
Yeah.
Because I mean, in 2025, there's so many tech or people that build websites.
Yeah.
So definitely something that differentiates Sunrise.
Yeah, it's a competitive market. I didn't pick an easy one to get into.
No, but you're doing great,
No,
honestly.
well, thank you very much. So I want to talk a bit more about Remmi and most importantly, your first, real deal that you landed, the big one that really kind of took you from this small startup, an idea, a vision, to actually running a business now. So tell us a bit more about that journey, how you acquired that client, how you built the relationships to convince them to trust in the Remmi brand for the first time.
Yeah.
And also, how did it make you feel to land that first client?
Oh my God, this is such a really, when people say, like sometimes you just have to like fake it. This scenario is 100% that. So my first big client was this big hair transplant private clinic in central London. Beautiful. They're very well known for what they do. They're very successful. They have like big clients and beautiful facilities as well, right? So they were just missing the scrubs. And so I had been working with the CEO for a couple of months on other of his projects, managing a part of his business part-time. And so I had that connection with him. So I think it's important to build trust as well. When we talk about building relationships, it's not just selling a product. People buy into people a lot, I think. And then, of course, you have to have a great product. So the way I was developing Remmi, so I got some samples. They were okay, but then, that's how it goes. You get samples until you get the version that you like. And so I was, I think, at version 3 of the samples. And I was pretty sure that they were going to get it right the third time. So I approached the CEO and I said, I think, you don't have scrubs for your brand yet. And I have a scrubs company. So I'd like to show you some samples. I didn't have those samples yet. I set up a meeting with him the day that the samples were going to come in. So I think the samples were scheduled to be delivered at my house around 12. And the meeting was at 3 p.m. And then comes 12. No one shows up with the samples, right? And so the samples come in maybe like an hour and a half later or something. I get the samples. Thank God they were the way, I wanted them to be. Steamed them quickly, ran to central London, like sweating. And then I was there at 3 on the dot. And, he can't be looking like you've been running. So I show up and then I show him the samples and he really liked them. And so from then he, wanted to make an order, which was a massive order. I had nothing figured out. This was my first time doing so.
I remember the phone call you gave me where you're like, I have a massive order coming in and we just finished the sample. But I mean, that's how it is sometimes.
Yeah, you
gotta figure it out.
Exactly.
It's just like, it's such a great deal for you to close, and I was so excited as well. And I remember you like, right, I need to work out how I'm gonna get these manufactured. I need to work out how I'm gonna get them all here. Where am I gonna store them? Because you hadn't even had facilities for storage yet, so you were piling them up in your house.
Yeah, literally everything. But that's just how it goes. Also, you build like a relationship with the person. So I just knew that I was going to make things right.
Yeah.
No matter what, right? Absolutely. So if the bulk order came and something wasn't right, I was going to tell him, listen, there's something, that we need to rework. Yeah. So that's the most important, 100%. I think. So you can try to, you figure out things, but at the end of the day, it's your reputation, it's your product. They need to be good. And if they weren't, I wasn't going to just...
Yeah, you have to be proud of what you're delivering, right? And if you didn't feel comfortable, then absolutely, that's the right mindset. And that kind of openness and transparency with your client is, I'd say, what really wins over your clients, right?
Yeah.
And he's a continued customer of yours now.
Yeah. In fact, we've just provided to his second hospital.
Amazing.
And it's crazy to see everyone just walking around in Remmi.
I mean, that must be quite a surreal feeling,
It's
right?
surreal,
It's
yeah.
because you worked really hard to develop it. You know, you put in the late nights, you've done the drawings, you've done all the conversations with your manufacturers, you got it shipped here in the UK, and now people are wearing it. I mean,
Yeah.
how does that make you feel?
It's funny because when you really when I take a step back, I'm like, okay, this is quite crazy. But I think, and probably you can relate to this as well, is it sounds crazier to people, but when you live it, you're kind of just like, okay, go,
Yeah.
go, right? So I think sometimes we remind you and I ourselves to take the time to celebrate the
Yeah,
wins.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because
When you're in it, it doesn't feel like wins. You know, you feel like, right, that's just the next step. Right
Yeah.
now, what's next after that? But
Exactly.
absolutely, I think one of the most important things when starting a business is that you do celebrate the small wins and the big wins.
Yeah.
But it's finding the time, like you said, to step back and reflect on how far you come on your journey.
Yeah, definitely. So when I see people wearing Remmi, I'm like, wow. And it's been also, it's really been, the feedback have been amazing. And it's really nice to see how happy people are,
Yeah.
you know, and excited to get new uniforms and feel good when they show up to work and take pride in their work.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really, really nice to see.
Those are the other perks of the job, right? It's the value and the what it brings and what it means to the customers that purchase the Remmi products. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, you know, we talked about the wins with Remmi and the success you've seen, but you and I both know that starting a company has an enormous amount of challenges. So what was the hardest part for you in starting Remmi?
I think the hardest part was to start a business in a completely new continent, you know, a new country, a new city. So because the UK is quite different from North America and Canada in the culture as well. For context, you know, in North America, the uniforms, medical uniforms, you can wear your own in the public hospitals as well, right? And you can wear, people show up in like hot pink scrubs and it's not a big deal at all.
Yeah.
It's something that is like celebrated. Whereas here, it's a bit more structured,
Yeah.
you know?
Seen as a uniform.
Yeah. And people like to stay, you know, they have this professional identity that is different, I would say, maybe. So to learn all of that while developing the business, and I think as well, an ongoing challenge, you constantly have your business on your mind.
Yeah.
There's not one moment that you don't think about it.
Yeah.
So it's quite hard to take a break.
Yeah.
Because for me, it's not even, I don't even want to take a break, you know? So I've been in the UK for a year and people have told me so many times, you should travel more because it's so easy.
Yeah.
But that's not where my mind is at, you know? And on the weekends, literally when I have a moment, a free moment at home, I just like, I'm like, what do normal people do?
Yeah. It does consume you, I would say. And I've experienced similar kind of thoughts as well. It's when you're starting it out, a company, it becomes all of you and it takes up every moment of your time. And absolutely, like when you do have a moment to have a break, you start questioning, you start doubting yourself as well, so whether or not you're trying hard enough or you're working hard
Exactly.
enough.
Yep.
And it becomes a bit of a vicious cycle.
Almost feel guilty.
Yeah, you do. You kind of make yourself feel guilty for taking a moment to break or taking a time for yourself as well when you know what's going on with the company, where it's at and what you should be doing.
Yeah,
So,
definitely. Because especially at the beginning, when you don't have a big team that can take over,
yeah.
you can't help but think, well, if I don't do anything, nothing
Yeah.
is going to happen,
Yeah.
right? So that's something that I'm learning to deal with
Yeah.
and being like gentle with myself
Yep.
at times, but that's not easy.
Absolutely. Did you ever have any moments of doubt about whether you could achieve the vision that you had and whether Remmi would take off the way it did?
No, because I really like strongly believe in the vision and the product as well, right? But I think your business at first, you have an idea of how it's going to be, and then it evolves,
Yeah.
and you have to like pivot,
Yes.
right? That's very important, I think, to be able to recognize, okay, your business is going into maybe a different direction. And for me, and you told me that from the beginning, that's so funny, is I really thought that Remmi was going to be like a B2C, business to consumer business. And while it still can be, it takes a bit more time to develop kind of like the branding and then, the following and people knowing your brand,
Yeah.
knowing that you exist. And at first, I remember you told me, oh, well, B2B, business to business, you could also develop that side a bit more. But I just wanted to have fun, to be honest with you. And I really just wanted to like build a
the
brand
content,
and like
the marketing.
the marketing, like all the fun stuff,
definitely.
So I was like, yeah. And then it kind of took, right now, that's what I'm realizing a bit more is, okay, it's more like clinics that wants to buy scrubs for their staff, and those contracts can go pretty quickly. Like it's, so it's always evolving.
Yeah.
And you need to be able
You
to.
touched on two really, I think, really, really important points, I think, for any entrepreneur or founder is one, having that vision and that kind of unyielding vision and belief in that you will make this work.
Almost like
Because
you have to be
it's slightly delusional. Yeah, absolutely. Because if at the end of the day, if no one else believes in what you're doing, but you do, that's all you need. But again, also having the flexibility to also adjust that vision.
Yeah.
Because where you think you're going may not actually be where your business ends up. And if you're too rigid, I'd say it can be detrimental to the growth and the speed at which you can get to market and build revenue. So there's got to be an element of flexibility, but at the same time, that unwavering kind of belief in yourself is something I think you see across any entrepreneur. They have that, and that is what really drives your business to success. We talked about the highs and lows in starting Remmi, but what I want to hear about is what's next for Remmi. Where do you see Remmi in the next 2 to 5 years?
When I started Remmi, and it's still my vision to this day, is Remmi is going to be the go-to for premium medical scrubs in the UK.
It's been a pleasure to talk with you, Dee, about Remmi and the journey that you've been through, all the highs and all the lows as well. I think it really puts a more, I'd say, candid view on what entrepreneurship is really like. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. And to our viewers, this is the very first in our series, Sunrise and Grind. We'd love to hear your thoughts and your comments. Did any of the themes resonate with you in your own journeys to being entrepreneurs? Please like, comment, subscribe, share this podcast with others in your network, and I look forward to doing episode 2.